Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and completely transform how you approach your very next networking or association event. Picture this for a second. You walk into a hotel ballroom or maybe a local mixer. You hear the clinking of glasses, the hum of overlapping conversations, and you just see a total sea of name tags. If you're a leader focused on recruiting high-quality agents, the ones who actually fit your ideal agent avatar, walking into that room can feel totally overwhelming. Usually it just ends up being a massive drain on your time with very little ROI. But what if you had a precise, predictable formula for walking out of that room with guaranteed high-value connections every single time? Well, today we're unpacking a masterclass in intentional recruiting based on some fantastic insights from Dixon, and it's literally going to flip your event strategy upside down. Here's our playbook for today. We've got 1, the networking dilemma. 2, step 1, target list. 3, step 2, strategic questions. 4, step 3, leading with value. And we'll wrap up with 5, the invitation cycle. Let's get right to it. Section 1, the networking dilemma. To start, we really have to look at the massive missed opportunity that happens at almost every single real estate event. Just think about the conversations you usually overhear. Everyone in the room is asking the exact same generic autopilot questions. They walk up and say, "Hey, how's the market?" Or "How's your business doing?" And what do they get in return? Autopilot answers. "Oh, it's good, staying busy, you know how it is." Boom, end of conversation. It's a total dead end. But if you pivot to gathering actionable intel by simply asking, "What is your greatest challenge right now?" you instantly change the entire dynamic. You force them to stop, think, and give you a real, vulnerable answer. And honestly, that is where real relationship building begins. Most attendees operate on a purely superficial level. It's exactly like walking into a Best Buy. You know the drill. The greeter at the front door looks at you and says, "Hey, how are you? Is there anything I can help you with today?" And it's so awkward, right? What do you actually say? You automatically raise your hand and say, "Nope, I'm good, just looking." That interaction gets absolutely nowhere. We desperately want to avoid being the event equivalent of a Best Buy greeter if we want to be memorable. Instead, we need intentional dialogue. We need to go out of our way to initiate deep, meaningful conversations with specific people, rather than just reacting to whoever happens to be standing near the appetizer table. Reversing this dilemma requires a really simple 3-part formula that you absolutely must prepare before you ever walk through those event doors. You need a target list, you need strategic questions, and you need to have something to share. Think of this like a fragile ecosystem. If you show up with a list but no questions, you'll just end up staring at them awkwardly. If you have questions but nothing to share, you leave them completely empty-handed. You need all 3 of these to turn a casual mixer into a highly effective, predictable recruiting pipeline. Which brings us to step 1, target list. You need to go into the room with a predetermined hit list of exactly 10 to 15 specific people you want to be in business with. Now, you might be wondering, why that specific number? It all comes down to psychology and focus. Any more than 15, and you're going to spread yourself way too thin trying to hunt down 50 people in a crowded room. You'll just end up having rushed, shallow conversations. But any less than 10, and you run the risk of those few people not even showing up, leaving you with absolutely nothing to do. So 10 to 15 is the magic number. These are the agents who meet your definition of an ideal avatar. You aren't in a relationship with them yet, and you know they're likely to be in attendance. You arrive completely prepared. Now, executing this strategy demands a complete and total shift in mindset. Yes, of course, you're naturally going to have those casual, organic pleasantries. You're going to bump into old friends and have those, "Oh, hey, so good to see you" moments. But you cannot let those distract you, because that is simply not why you are there. You are on a targeted mission. When you spot an agent from your list all the way across the room, you intentionally navigate through the crowd to get into a dialogue with them. You are actively hunting for opportunity, not just waiting for it to randomly bump into you. All right, let's look at step 2, strategic questions. Once you actually locate your targets, you need to know exactly what to say to them. And these aren't your typical icebreakers. Notice the very deliberate progression of these high-level intel questions. You start by disarming them with positivity. What is going well in your business right now, and what are you most excited about? People absolutely love talking about their wins, and it immediately lowers their defenses. Then, once you've established that initial rapport, you pivot to the ultimate recruiting question. What is the greatest source of stress or frustration in your business today? You've smoothly guided them from superficial chatter straight to the core of their current professional pain points. Whatever they reveal as their ultimate frustration gives you the absolute golden ticket. This is the exact intel you need. They literally just handed you the blueprint for how to recruit them. You now have the power to tailor a highly personal, value-driven follow-up later. Just think about it. When you reach back out a few days later, you aren't sending a generic "so nice to meet you" text gets instantly ignored. You're saying, "Hey, remember when we spoke? You mentioned that generating buyer leads was your greatest source of frustration right now. Let's grab coffee so I can share exactly how my team is solving that." You set the hook perfectly, and it doesn't feel the least bit salesy.
That flows perfectly into step 3, leading with value.
Be honest with me here. When was the last time a generic business card actually changed your life? Seriously, throw it out. The standard business card with your name, your email, and that super tired phrase, "the greatest compliment is a referral," does absolutely nothing to separate you from the pack. Instead, consider the recruiting business card. Think about your last visit to the dentist office. When you check out, they don't just say goodbye and wave. They hand you a card with a fill-in-the-blank date and time for your next cleaning. You can completely flip your business card to act exactly like that. The front has your normal info, sure, but the back is essentially a coupon valid for one free business review or coaching appointment, complete with a blank spot to write in the date and time right there on the floor of the networking event.
Aside from the dentist-style card, you really should have other tangible items of massive value ready to deploy. Imagine buying a stack of 10 of your absolute favorite business books from Amazon and just handing them out to your target list at the event. Imagine how memorable you become compared to the 50 other agents they met that day who just handed them flimsy pieces of paper. You hand them a physical book and offer to meet up next week to discuss how to implement the ideas inside. Whether it's the physical book, the instant business consultation, or a specific invitation, the point is you are immediately leading with massive value.
And finally, Section 5, the invitation cycle.
The invitation cycle is a brilliant recruiting hack coined by Jake Dixon in his book Attract, Recruit, Lead. It is essentially the process of continually inviting candidates to relevant resources based directly on the challenges they express to you, thereby pulling them into closer and closer proximity to your world. This isn't just some quick networking tip, it is a formal, repeatable strategy of letting them experience your leadership firsthand, rather than just talking at them about your shiny brokerage splits or low fees. But to pull this off, the execution has to be flawless. First, you extract the challenge using those high-level questions we just broke down. But here's where most people completely drop the ball. Step 2, you absolutely must master and memorize your upcoming training calendar for the entire quarter. If you don't know what value you have coming up, you have nothing to offer them in the moment. You have to know it cold. Then comes step 3, match and invite. Because you know your calendar inside and out, your brain is trained to instantly match their stated pain point to an upcoming solution and organically extend an invitation.
Let's look at a perfect example of this in action. Say you ask about their greatest challenge, and they admit they're really struggling with getting listings in today's shifting market. You take a mental note. Because you already memorized your calendar, you can light up and say right there on the spot, "Wow, it's so funny you should say that. In 2 weeks, we actually have a private masterclass I'm leading on how to get 90 listings in 90 days. I would absolutely love for you to attend and be my personal guest." See what happened there? You take the exact intel you gathered and instantly tie it to a personalized, high-value solution.
I want you to listen to this profound mindset shift. I'm going to be their leader until I am their leader. This perfectly captures the entire underlying philosophy of the invitation cycle system. You are acting as if you are already responsible for their success. You are stepping in and providing customized, individualized value right now. You are proving your leadership through your actions, your resources, and your time long before any transfer paperwork is ever even signed.
And here is the ultimate payoff for all this intentionality. It is only a matter of time before their current broker or brokerage screws something up. Maybe a commission check is late, maybe they feel unsupported on a tough deal, or maybe leadership changes. When that frustrating day inevitably comes, who is the very first person they are going to think to call? It's going to be you. Why? Because you are the only one who has been consistently executing the invitation cycle, adding real value, and actively helping them solve their specific business problems. You become the logical, obvious first choice.
Let's be real, anyone can walk into a room and collect a massive stack of business cards. But who in your market is actually collecting challenges and actively solving them? If you aren't leading these high-quality agents right now, you can absolutely bet your competition will be. So what I want you to do is review your quarterly calendar today, build out your 10 to 15 person hit list, and go be the leader they didn't even know they were looking for. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.